Joy, and for my popular text I chose the Avengers movie, which was a huge blockbuster hit in 2012. It's your typical superhero story of a band of Marvel superheroes who save the world from an alien invasion. So we're going to look at this from a feminist lens, and I'm going to walk you through a feminist critique of this movie. So we're also going to look at it from a radical feminist perspective and a liberal feminist perspective. After that, we're going to have a broader discussion of the role of women in superhero movies and superhero culture in general, and why it is so important to discuss the way women are portrayed in these kinds of movies. So first, let's take a look at our main female character in the Avengers. She's the only female in the Avengers team of superheroes, and really the only woman who has a real presence in the entire movie.
The Black Widow, or Natalia Romanoff, is a former Russian spy who now works for the powerful U.S. government intelligence agency called S.H.I.E.L.D. She works under Director Fury and is portrayed as a sexy, powerful master manipulator with a razor-sharp mind. Here we see her confronting Loki, the main evil mastermind in the Avengers movie. She uses gender stereotypes to appear vulnerable and pretends to be weak in front of Loki. When Loki starts intimidating her, she pretends to be scared and walks away in tears. Loki then thinks that she's just a quivering woman and lets down his guard when he reveals her some important information, and that she promptly reports to her boss. She's instrumental in getting information out of the enemy and helping the Avengers win the war. When she's not outsmarting criminals, Natalia Romanoff is fighting, and she is a great fighter. She's shown to be as physically strong as the men. Here we see her defeating Hawkeye in hand-to-hand combat. Not only is Romanoff physically powerful and aggressive, but she's brutal in defeating her enemies. She's merciless and doesn't hesitate to use violence. Throughout the movie, she doesn't show any compassion, which is stereotypically thought of as a female characteristic. This emotional distance is what also makes Romanoff a unique female character. Most movies portray women as in need of help. Usually at some point they cry or need a man to comfort them because they just can't handle all the emotions. Romanoff is not shown as that kind of character. She's fearless and she's so emotionally distant. Basically, she's like a man. This famous scene from the Avengers is where we see Black Widow for the first time. Again, she uses gender stereotypes to her advantage. The men just assume that she's a weak female seductress. They tie her to a chair and probably are gonna kill her, but give her all the information before they do anything. Right before they are about to harm her, she defeats the three men single-handedly, brutally incapacitates all three of them, and without breaking a sweat, is able to throw the old man off the roof. Again, we see her being violent, merciless, physically strong. She just picks up her heels and walks away as if nothing happened. However, it's important to note that Romanoff is more than just a sexy killing machine. She only defeats the bad guys. She does have a conscience. She fights for good and is compassionate towards the people who are on her team. So here we have this extremely powerful female character. She's not just your token female superhero just so that they could have a female in the movie. She's instrumental to the plot, really important for defeating the enemy, a great teammate and fighter. She's really brave, and there's depth to her character. We get to know her as the movie progresses. So what's the verdict here? Does the Avengers' portrayal of Natalia Romanoff as a highly empowered female superhero mean that the Avengers is a feminist movie? Let's discuss our character a little further.
So what's the problem here? Why are some feminists not happy with the portrayal of superheroes and females in this way in superhero movies? What's wrong with having a highly empowered warrior woman? Well, some feminists like Mary McGolick in the Journal of Popular Culture puts it this way.
She talks about many shows that feature strong, proactive women warriors who champion good to the delight of fans. Critics and laypeople alike hail these bold, dynamic, independent, honest, strong, and stylish fighters of evil as role models who maintain spirit, intelligence, and ethics. But as I watched them for years and reflected upon them deeply, I came to realize that these female heroes, conceived of and written by mostly men in a still male-dominated world, present male fantasies and project the status quo more than they fulfill feminist hopes. The basic concept of this series is that heroic women must battle as warriors due to their excessively hostile worlds that require their vigilant and violent responses.
Let's unpack that quote. So what she's trying to say there is that yes, these women superheroes are highly empowered, but where is their empowerment coming from? As Brummett says, feminism also discusses the sources of female empowerment. Here we see that even though Romanoff is highly empowered, her sources of empowerment come from male-dominated societies. She's operating in a patriarchal system. She answers to her boss, who is a male, and all her co-workers are male too. So these highly celebrated female superheroes, they actually might not be heroines in their own right. They're operating in a system full of males, and the source of their power also comes from males. Another idea in the quote was that women must fight as warriors, something that's stereotypically thought of as a male's role, fighting and being physically violent. Now, a liberal feminist would not see that as a problem because they believe that men and women are equal, and a woman can do everything that a man can do. So we can say that the director of this movie, Joss Whedon, who is a self-proclaimed man who is a feminist, we can see that he's a liberal feminist because he put Romanoff in a role where she does everything that a man can do. There's no really distinction between what a female Avenger does and what a male Avenger does. They both fight, they both kill, and they both fight for good. So that's how we see it. But if we look at it from a radical feminist point of view, they might argue that no, that's wrong, and that's actually not good for females because they have distinct natural biological and physiological differences which make them different from men. So they would not be impressed with Romanoff's character and the way she's portrayed as a violent, physically aggressive person because they would say that those characteristics are not part of the natural female psyche. And by making Romanoff this character who's violent and fighting, it's repressing the female experience and parts of natural female psychological characteristics. Let's go on to talk about silencing. The most obvious form of silencing feminine voices in this movie is that there is only one female Avengers and several powerful male characters that dominate the scene. Even though Romanoff has a third of screen time on the Avengers, she is the only female and she has very little interaction with other females in the movie. This movie fails the Bechdel test. So what is the Bechdel test? It's a feminist test to describe whether a movie is portraying female characteristics and experience or not. Let's take a closer look at it.
The Bechdel test is used to determine whether a film has a female presence. To pass the test, a movie must meet the following three criteria. Firstly, there must be at least 3 female named characters in the movie. Secondly, they have to talk and interact with each other about something other than men, which is the third condition. The Avengers barely passes the first one and completely fails the other 2. The main female character in the movie is Natasha Romanoff, obviously. The other 2 named characters are Agent Hill, who works for Director Fury, but all her ideas and opinions are overridden by him, and he's her boss. Pepper Potts is Iron Man's partner, and is really just an object, while he is the subject. She's portrayed as a damsel in distress, and is kind of just there to please him sexually, and doesn't really have any other use in the movie.
The more we think about it, we realize that yeah, Romanoff is a highly empowered female character, but all her empowerment comes from being with men and around men, and all the characteristics that make her seem powerful, like her physical prowess and her lack of emotion, are characteristics that are generally attributed to men. The other thing is that even though she is one highly empowered character, she's really the only one. The other two women are quite weak, they don't have a lot of control, and this is a huge part of silencing. They're silencing the female experience by not allowing women to interact or do anything productive during the movie. If we think about it, Natalia Romanoff doesn't even have real superpowers. The Black Widow is just smart, sexy, manipulative, and yeah, she's strong, but she doesn't have superpowers like the Hulk or Iron Man.
Let's do a head count here. Your brother, the demigod, a super soldier, a living legend who kind of lives up to the legend, a man with breathtaking anger management issues, a couple of master assassins, and you, big fella. You've managed to piss off every single one of them.
What we see in this clip is Iron Man describing the Avengers team, totally leaving out Natasha Romanoff, describing her just as a master assassin, while as the other male characters are portrayed as threatening and powerful. Natalia doesn't even have a superpower. So this really represents the lack, that females don't have something that men have. It's not just in relation to the male genitalia, but also characteristics in general. So she doesn't get to have a superpower because she's a woman. We also see the role of phallic symbols throughout the Avengers movie. All the things that represent power, like guns, rockets, skyscrapers, and the spear that holds universal power that Loki has, they're all phallic symbols. Even though Hawkeye doesn't have a superpower as such, he has his bow and arrows. That's a phallic symbol. The Stark Tower, which is Iron Man's famous big power in the middle of New York City, where all the fighting happens, and all the skyscrapers in New York City. All these phallic symbols, and also Natasha has to make up for her lack by controlling things like the guns, and she flies the rocket and shoots the weapons, and the things that make her powerful are her use of those weapons that are phallic symbols, and also her appropriation of male physical characteristics. Those are the things that make her powerful. If we think about it, there's nothing about her that's distinctly female, which brings power to her character. So what do we say about feminism in the Avengers? From a liberal feminist point of view, they did really well. Natasha Romanoff is portrayed as a totally capable superhero who can do everything, almost everything, that a man can do. But from a radical feminist point of view, she doesn't fulfill any of the roles that a female should have. There's a silencing, there's a lack, and also phallic symbols play a big role in kind of undermining a female presence in the movie. All the signs of empowerment are male, and empowerment comes from males. They are the source of female empowerment in this movie. I think The Avengers is a step in the right direction. It's nice to see powerful female characters, but I think we could do a lot better in the 21st century, have a better representation of powerful females. You can't just have one in a whole team of powerful males. So although The Avengers is a good step, I think it could do a lot better. That's all I got. I hope you enjoyed it.